Brothers and sisters, many of us, myself included, have had the immense blessing, the great blessing of having the opportunity to visit Israel. And for good reason. It's called the Holy Land. It's not unusual for people when they return from a pilgrimage there to the Holy Land to have someone come up and they'll ask us, what was your favorite place? Your favorite holy site? What was your favorite experience? And we would be hard-pressed, I was, certainly, to identify just one thing, because there are just so many things, and you're overwhelmed in a beautiful sense. But I have to say that in the midst of all of those incredible experiences and holy sites, there were three that stood out for me from all the rest. The first two are both connected with water. So we have the River Jordan and the Sea of Galilee. Now, I've been to the Holy Land twice. The first time, I didn't like the Jordan River experience at all. We were taken to a place that was sanitized, it seemed to me. It was almost as clean and as pristine as some new attraction at Disneyland. The water had been dammed up somehow, and it was pristine. It was clear, and there was an industrial kind of complex going on in terms of people who were renewing their baptismal promises and dressing in white robes. It was busy and it was sanitized. Didn't like it. Second time going to Israel, a much different experience. It was truly in the middle of the desert. And the river was not impressive. It was very small. You could almost swim across it pretty easily to the other side, which was Jordan, I believe. It was a more authentic experience. I could really imagine Jesus being baptized there. I could imagine his public ministry about to begin. You could almost hear the Father's voice. This is my son. You are my son. I'm pleased with you. It's a very powerful experience a second time around. The Sea of Galilee was powerful both times. Part of the tourist end of things is you do get on a boat, a tourist boat with maybe 30 or 40 other people. They're playing music, popular Israeli music. Wasn't my cup of tea. Again, too loud, too noisy. But you go out to the middle of the Sea of Galilee, and then it happens. They turn off the music, thank God. And then they turn off the engine, the motor of the boat that you're in, so it's silent. Except you hear the lapping of the waves against the boat, and then you know you're hearing something that he heard in a place where he heard it 2,000 years before. And it not only takes you back there, it makes that experience very real and brings it to the present moment. It was just wonderful. And then the third place, and I think this is especially appropriate for this season of Easter, was the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The Holy Sepulchre, the burial place of Jesus, the cave, the tomb where he was buried. I was overwhelmed by that too, again, in a good sense, a beautiful sense, by the profound beauty of the church, along with this incredible reverent attitude. There was a sacred silence as soon as you went into the place, and that kind of silence is so good. It gets your attention. It's the kind of silence that enables you to hear the voice of God. Then you can see what is called an edicule. It's a very unusual word. It comes from some Latin words, Latin root, that means literally a small house. So there's an edicule in the middle of the church, inside the church. So it's a structure. It's got 4 walls. It's got a little cupola, or like a roof and a tower. And that's kind of X marks the spot. That is where the sepulchre is, where the tomb is. It's like a chapel within this church, that small structure. But what you discover inside is darkness. Again, that sacred, profound silence. And emptiness. Emptiness. It is, in fact, an empty tomb. but an emptiness that points to the fullness of life, an emptiness that points to what happened there. This place has been venerated at least since the 4th century. And it is believed by Christians all over the world to be the burial place of the Lord himself. It's an emptiness that represents the good news, bad news of the empty tomb and the resurrection. It's the good news and bad news that we hear every year in the Easter season. And we understand now the nature of the angelic words to the holy women who had first gone to the tomb 3 days after the death of Jesus. And the angel said to them, "Do not be afraid. Don't be frightened. I know you are looking for Jesus, the one who was crucified, but he is not here. He has been raised exactly as he promised. Come and see the place where he was laid." You see, the joyous news of Easter comes to us through the empty tomb. He is not here. That's bad news. It was bad news to them. Where's the body? Where have you taken him? What have you done with him? He has been raised exactly as he promised. That's the good news. See, the news of loss, the news of painful separation, the news of hopes that have been dashed, that's contained in that phrase, he's not here. They felt that. We feel that when someone we know and love has died and gone before us. And yet, he is not here is also the good news. It's one and the same phrase. It's also the good news, since the glorious reason for the absence and the emptiness is the resurrection. I remember so well the first few months after my own dad died, and I would go to visit Mom. And there we were in the house, and there was Dad's chair in the living room, and it was empty. And no one presumed would dare to sit. It was Dad's chair. There was the place when we gathered still for Sunday evening for Sunday dinner. And there's Dad's place at the head of the table. And no one sits there. It was an emptiness, and you could feel it. It was palatable. I would see the empty place and those empty spots. I can't begin to imagine how my mother felt about the empty side of the bed that she shared with Dad for 40 years of her life. So we have that experience of the empty tomb, don't we? And yet again, we hear the phrase from the angel, and we need to hear it deep in our heart. He is not here. I cannot, begin to imagine how difficult that was for Mom. And there were days when I would see that emptiness as only bad news, as something sad, regretful. Again, only remembering the loss and feeling the pain. On other days, on the good days, I would see it as a simple but powerful reminder about the good news, thinking to myself, well, Dad is not here, but I know where he is. He's in heaven. Here is some more good news, brothers and sisters. Through the difficult times we've been through, the challenges, through the chaos of the society and the world that we live in, a world that is so divided at times, a nation that is divided, a church that sometimes is divided, a world that is not at peace with itself, literally. Somehow we've managed, haven't we? We have, to remain faithful to the task of loving, of serving, trusting, being generous. You have managed to see the hopeful side of the emptiness and have allowed yourselves to be overwhelmed, again in a good way, overwhelmed and wonderfully surprised by joy. So let the joy of the resurrection rule your hearts as this Easter season is about to begin, as this Eucharistic revival continues in our church. And we will sing. We come to share our story. We come to break the bread. We come to know our rising from the dead. And we do, brothers and sisters. So God bless you and happy Easter. God bless you and those you love always and in every way.